July 8th for a regular meeting. A roll call.
Josh Ryan.
Stu
Julie
Grove.
Morris. Julie Morris.
Pam Cook.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda, right? No changes to the agenda, right?
Correct. No changes.
Motion.
We don't have to do a motion to approve the. Oh yeah, we do.
Second.
Oh no, we gotta go around. Aye. Yes.
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 Motion and second to approve the May 6th Business Service Committee meeting minutes. Motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Josh?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No comments from the community tonight?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Josh.
All right. So my first item is a recommendation to accept the May 2020 Treasurer's Report. So I'll take a little time just kind of going through those funds because that'll be the last time you'll see financials until the audit in December. So this is kind of our last snapshot of how the year was trending or beginning. Well,
Looks pretty good.
yeah, things are good. So if you go to that Ed Fund on that summary page that I normally start with, I'll kind of run through there. So in May, we did get our over $4 million property tax relief grant. So on the left side of that, under state sources came in at $4.5 million this May over last May. So that puts local sources up $736,000, state sources up $4.6 million, and federal sources are down $532,000. Most of that is Medicaid funds, but overall revenues are up $4.8 million. So from a budget standpoint, local sources will exceed, state sources will exceed because of the property tax relief grant, and federal sources will probably be a little bit under, but we should be overall pretty good. On the salary side, it's down $55,000, but keeping in mind there's 3 pays in June versus 2 last year. So that I just took a look, and preliminarily it looked like salaries were going to come in just a hair under what we had budgeted. So, but we'll see once all the entries are done for June. So outside of salaries and benefits, those expenses were down $120,000 1 year over last year through May. So I think that looks okay. So if you flip to the next page under tort, tort is within $3,000 of their revenue budget, so they'll be right there. And expenditures are on track with budget. So next page to O&M. So their local sources are about $13,000 under. They'll be real close, if not at the revenue budget. There's a sale of equipment for $6,000 there. We finally bought the new tractor, and that's the trade-in on the old tractor I booked as revenue. Under transfers, I think we talked last meeting, I wasn't actually, when I did the budget, planning on moving that money from working cash to O&M to capital projects. So it's an in and an out in this fund, but it's not budgeted for on either of those entries. So if you take that out, revenues are up almost $200,000, which most of that is property taxes. So their salaries and benefits are actually down $72,000. And this is a fund that doesn't have a 27th pay because they're 12-month employees. So that salary was actually down for the year. So expenditures outside of that transfer and salaries and benefits are down $134,000. No, they're just, all of them combined are down $134,000. So that's good for O&M. Debt service is already $24,000 over the revenue budget because of the double mobile home payment and the interest that the county paid us on the property taxes. And expenditures are just about $1,000 under what we budgeted, so that looks good too. Transportation, their local revenue sources are $700 over the local budget, so that's hit for the year. State sources show it to be about a half, but we did get a third payment June 10th. So we are still one payment behind the transportation, but we have gotten 3 out of 4. And then the other sale of equipment was the 41,000 that we had budgeted. On the expenditure side, the expenditures are tracking right on budget. It should be right there. So they had a pretty decent projected excess in that fund. So that should be right there. At the end of the day, if we don't get the 4th payment, then there'll be a deficit because of that. And if we do get the payment, then everything will be right where we had budgeted. For IMRF, their revenues are trending on budget. So at the end of May, so looking at this, their expenditures are $34,000 down. So I ran it today through June because we've made all the summer pays, and we ended up at 39,000 over budget in this fund, which I thought we were right on. And the reason for that is IMRF switches their rate January 1st. So when you do the budget, you don't know what it is, and they increased it a decent amount. So I was frustrated. I thought we were right on budget on that one. I mean, it's okay. The fund will be fine, but I was hoping we'd be right at or slightly ahead. So kind of is what it is there. Capital projects, those expenditures are just starting to come through. So this fund will change quite a bit. I mean, the bond money revenue is sitting there, but they're just starting to, get a lot of those projects underway. Julie, I don't know if you know this, but they have finished and have striped the middle school parking lot. So that is done. And so they've torn up our parking lot here. So the transportation area. So that should be done within the next 3 weeks. So that's all moving forward. Working cash, because I had originally planned on keeping the working cash bond in this fund, so I had a little more interest budgeted. So because we moved it out, we'll be a little short on the interest revenue there. But other than the bond in and out, we weren't making any transfers other than the bond stuff out. So that money was just going to sit there. So that one's okay. Fire life safety is 2,000 over budget on the revenue, and their expenditures are trending slightly under what we've budgeted. So overall, that looks pretty good. It'll be next year once our bargain increases roll in. The state's going to hold EBF where it was, which is essentially like a cut because we had planned on the increase. So that's where we'll start to see some of those revenues be a pinch point next year. But for this year, things look good. So at least that's one positive. So if you go to food service, about 5 or 6 more pages down, we talked last time about food service not getting an April government reimbursement. And part of that was COVID related, how they were paying that money, switching over from the normal meal reimbursement to kind of the federal meal program switch, because it didn't become the national lunch program. They rolled it into something else. So we ended up getting $328,000 in May. So that is almost the exact amount that we missed for April. So it actually puts food service going into June at an excess or a gain of 105,000 for the year. So that helped quite a bit. So that looks okay. So under healthcare, if you flip to the one that has the comparison on it like that, through May, the healthcare is 0.1% under 13,500. I did just look at the bill we just got, and it was 100,000 over year to year. So we'll end up slightly above, but relatively close on the healthcare side for that. So, and then activity counts. Typically, we like to see the activity counts come in at or slightly below what the beginning balance was. It's up about 14,000, and that's because some of those funds didn't get to spend their activity accounts since we stopped school mid-March. But I think overall that's okay. You guys have any questions on the treasurer's report? Oh, we need a consensus.
Okay, we can get a consensus to accept the treasurer's report. Aye.
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 Okay. So my next 2 items are an independent contractor agreement with a vendor called Lynn Liston, who does infant mental health consultant from our 0 to 3 and 3 to 5 program. I do have a memo that they sent down, so I'll have it attached for the board meeting tomorrow. There's two different contracts. One is paid for by our ACB birth to 3, and one is for our 3 to 5 program, and they're required for the grants. Mickey did bump the amounts up a little bit this year because it is a mental health piece, and with COVID, we're anticipating that we will need those services. So they do Linda's evaluation services and mental health for the grant, and we've used her for a few years now. There's two different contracts, and they both go up to $3,000 each at $125 an hour on that. Are there any questions on that?
Is that same price as last year, isn't it?
I think
Or
so.
did it go up?
No, I believe that's the same price we have.
I thought so too.
I can confirm that, but that sounds right to
It
me.
is. It's the same price as last year.
All right.
It's always nice when we don't get an increase
Yeah, and Mickey says she
in
doesn't.
cost.
Right. So, I mean, at that hourly rate, we don't have that many hours budgeted in here, so it's normally not we just use it obviously only when we need to. Should we just do a motion or a consensus for both those?
Yeah. Now that only goes to age 3 for 0 to 3 and 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they fall into the early childhood, the two different grants that we have.
Right. Okay. All right. If we can get a consensus to approve
Yes.
contract with Lynn, yes. Yes.
Yes.
So those are my consensus items, but I wanted to have a couple things of informational items just so we can kind of give an update on a few different things. So for contracts under 2,500, which I had sitting here and I now don't see. Oh, here it is. So we had a contract with HP of $0. They own Aruba, who does our Wi-Fi. So because of some of the COVID things, they were allowed to gift us some Wi-Fi capabilities at the high school for parking lot internet. In case we have to shut down again or students need the internet, they can go to the high school in the parking lot and access their work there. So they donate over $10,000 worth of equipment because the government eased some of the vendor rules for E-rate. So I signed that because that was no dollars. There was a small Lynn Liston contract for $500 for pre-K summer testing. So I signed that so they could do the summer testing because the amount was low. And then there was a Title I tutoring for Concordia Lutheran as part of the grant in there too. So those are the contracts under 2,500. I have 3 informational items. One is the CLIC or our insurance co-op renewal amount. So each year we get our new rates, and I want to give those and just kind of give an update. So the year we just ended, we were just over 100,000 down. So we knew that we had a decent year rolling off and a higher year rolling on for the workers' comp. And then there's a couple other things at play with COVID. The insurance markets are a mess right now, and everyone is very nervous. So the increase ended up for workers' comp and for property casualty at 128. I had been told it could be up to 150. So it was right there. On the property casualty side, about 26 of that 45 increase was fixed cost for the cost of them buying the actual insurance piece itself. And because we've had some school board legal liability claims, our deductible did go up to 50 on that, which is high. So the deductible kind of follows your claims experience. If you don't have any claims, then it's 10,000. We've had a few. So that's kind of one piece to note there. They did increase the cyber liability limit to 2 million from 1 million, so that added 7,000, primarily because of RPS's hack is really probably what made them nervous. So because cyber theft has been such a thing, they added more coverage there. So that's kind of the property casualty side. On the workers' comp side, our 5-year average is we have a loss ratio of about 63%, but last year was 113%. So we rolled that on with rolling off at 60%. So that's why it went up. But the current year we're just ending, we were trending really well. So we'll see. We might roll that. It'll kind of go up and down. But we just gave back the savings for next year. So it's kind of averaging out. So hopefully we can roll on a good year or two. there. And no one's sure what's happening with COVID, like I said. So that's out in the open market. I've seen some that have got 100% increase in their costs. So, so it could, we were in the 12, 13%. That's kind of what the insurance renewal look like. So do you have any questions on that? Okay.
No, I don't.
Next is a PPE overview for the district, just kind of an update on what we've been working on. On top of all that, there's tons of different groups and plans being worked on for when we come back to school. But we've been working on a lot of ordering of PPE things here, of masks. And so I was just kind of going to go through a little bit of what we've bought so far, just so you have a heads up. So we've ordered 10,000 disposable masks, and I have 6,000 of them. So the rest of those should come in soon. This week we got 400 N95 masks, which are pretty hard to get, and we already had 50 KN95s, so that was good. We have 4,500 reusable, like, cotton adult mask. So our plan with that was 2 for the staff and then some for the subs. So we have the adults covered. We have 2,000 elementary student masks in. We'll need more, but we got a couple of boxes of those in. At this point, we were thinking 2 per each kid, plus what the governor gives us of reusable masks. I got 15, so packs of 50. I got 15,000 alcohol wipes, which are disinfectants. So they will generally kill germs, but not virus. So we'll need Clorox kind of wipes for that. But you can still wipe down a surface, and you can still use them for hand wipes. So that was good. So a lot of this, just kind of one step back, is we haven't typically worked with Staples in the past, but we have a lot of vendors reaching out, but Staples reached out, and I've been buying some of these things, and it turned out that I've almost bought all of these things from Staples, because the disposable masks so far have been 17.5 cents a piece, which is half of anywhere else in the market. And I've been trying to get a lot of Clorox wipes, and all the other vendors combined have gotten us 0, and Staples has gotten us 138 containers, which is good.
That's really good, because I mean, like Unity and stuff, you can only order things you've ordered in the past. So if you haven't ordered Clorox wipes with them in the past, you don't get to order them.
They sent us a shipment of 128 containers last week. It was like gold showed up through the door. So we were pretty happy with that. Back in March, right when everything shut down, we ordered 400 units of dispensers of Purell and then the liquid bags of Purell. I'm told those will be here in a week or 2, but I'll believe that once that's in our hands. But we did get that order in early with Home Depot, which is our co-op. Home Depot kind of runs that co-op. And they told me that they've talked directly between VPs at Home Depot and Purell that we're going to have that. So that'll be good to have. But we have to go through every classroom and replace the dispenser. So that'll be a little work, but that's okay. So I still need 9,000-ish student masks and 1,500 containers of Clorox, which we won't be able to get that many by the start of school. But if I can get to 400 or 500 and keep speccing those things, I think that will be good. So for like deeper cleaning overnight things, we've ordered 15 electrostatic backpacks. So that will spray, and that spray will like cling to the surfaces of the classrooms. At this point, we believe we can do the buildings on a rotating basis of every other day. I don't think we're going to be able to spray all of them every night, but we'll surface wipe the other half, or whichever buildings we don't get to spray on rotating basis. So the other question too has been, how do we disinfect the buses? So the electrostatic spray is a 2-minute cure time too. Our Virex that we have is a 10-minute cure time. So we did end up ordering through it with our CARES money. So we bought all of this has come from that federal CARES money that we got. We bought 85 handheld electrostatic sprayers. We had the guy bring one out that I think Winnebago owned and test it. So They only need to be charged once a week, and when they're in the back of the bus doing their their walkthrough, they can spray that, and it will get under the seats and in places, and it's a 2-minute cure time. So we can do that in between routes where different kids are coming, so we can do a full disinfectant in 2 minutes with those.
It's only a 2-minute cure time?
Yeah, it depends what chemicals you have. He had Virex in the one that he had, but we have something called Alpha coming, which is 75 days out. So we have something that'll bridge that gap. But we ordered 11,000 in that solution also because of the backpack sprayers and the bus sprayers. The Home Depot guy told me that should last us 2 years. So I wanted to make sure I had enough. So for a lot of the deep cleaning stuff, I think we're okay. We also, Mike has been going through and reviewing the faucets, making sure that we have functioning faucets, because with the amount of hand washing that has to happen is going to be extensive. We've also been reviewing our filters in the building and seeing what we can upgrade for that. So we've been trying to get down to HEPA, but I don't think that grade is going to work because of the amount of airflow and the stress that puts on the blowers. So, Julie, I talked to Mike today. You got to get to a MERV level 16, and we can probably only get to 13 with the power that we have. So, we're going to do everything we can on getting as many filters in. We're gonna buy our normal filters, put them in. If we can get the higher, whatever we get for better filters, we'll put those in as soon as we get them. And then from an HVAC standpoint, we do have the ability in certain situations to bring in more outside air, but if it's 100-degree humid air, then that'll create other issues. So there'll be a window that we can do that to bring in air. So we've looked at those systems, filters, faucets. And Sue, we did end up planning on keeping the 6 buses we were going to trade in, just because we don't know what the busing looks like.
Right.
So we held on to those for a little bit longer just to kind of see how that goes. So that's kind of a quick rundown of the PPE that we've been doing and ordering, and it's gone pretty well so far, but there's still plenty to do for that. So
now, if, for instance, we have a student or a driver or an aide that's on a bus that tests positive for COVID, do you have this stuff to be able to sanitize that bus, or do we call in an outside source that comes in with?
So everyone's going to have the mask on, and I guess depending on how that information flows, because they're already going to be sanitizing the bus every time off and on with that 2-minute spray. So, I mean, I guess if someone tests positive and it was on that bus, we would already sanitize it. We could we could hit that again. Maybe we could hit it with the backpack sprayer, but we should have plenty of capability to disinfect that pretty quickly.
Okay.
But we'll have to talk. We've had general conversations, but we're not to the what happens to the minute if what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many what ifs that we could be here for days.
But if everyone has a mask on and we're disinfect spraying with the 2-minute piece on that, I think that's a good first step. So, do you have any other questions on that as we go?
I don't think so. Nothing off the top of my head.
So we're putting together some information for the board that a memo that Julie's been working on, because we'll have to request a few more people for the spraying piece at night. Just because current staff won't be able to clean the buildings and spray all of them every other day.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to get a general update on where we're at with everything for the opening of the school year Monday night. And then there'll be a couple of there'll be a couple of recommendations for some initial staff that we know that we will want to try to get for the school year. And then there may be more coming as we get closer to having more solid plans. But for right now, we want to get those out there.
Right.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, sounds good to me. I mean,
my last item is an update on the auditorium. So we got the AVE study done, and I think I provided a draft last time, and that looked good. But when we got that, I started to talk to the architect a little bit about, I didn't feel like that study was good enough to turn around and put into bid specs. Like I was missing high and low voltage plans. So I touched base with Tracy from DLA, and we've had quite a bit more conversations because the study did what we wanted it to do, but in looking at it, we needed to test like structural loads of where those speakers are going to go. Make sure there's no asbestos. Now there's not, but we have to look and verify that. Since we're modifying the space, is there any code changes we need to make? So DLA is working with a couple other vendors so that we can have low and high voltage plans, those load specs done. So unfortunately, we have to do a little bit more work to make sure that those bid specs are universal and ready to go. There'll be a couple things like that we're going to be pretty firm on. It needs to be this, and there's other things that we have to have flexibility on to let people bid on that. So even though it's going to cost us a little more money now to do the plans, it should open up who can bid on those projects, and hopefully that will lower the cost of that project too. So I wanted to have that done by August, but at this point, I think if we have it done by Christmas, there's not going to be a lot of utilization in that space, and we got to get that right. So we just need to do a little bit more prep on that. So.
Yeah, I mean, my assumption would be it's going to be a little while before we have any big utilization of that space. I mean, unless the churches start.
So the church has submitted a plan, their kind of plan of reentry in August. And I took a look at that. And I thought that looked okay. But at this point, they're still bringing their own stuff in. So we, like I said, if we need to get it right, the study did what it was supposed to do. But in hindsight, it's one of those things that's hard. Like until you know what you have it in your hand, you don't know what else you're missing. So. Right. But if I had put that out, then only AD would have been able to bid it, and it would have been kind of messy. So I'd rather just get it right. So I'll kind of keep you guys in the loop. Maybe each month I'll just give you an update, and hopefully within 2 meetings we're ready to put that out and have a recommendation. So it's only a week or two of work, so we can just. And I talked to one of the teachers yesterday that we've been working with on that space, and kind of gave him an update too about how things are going. So. I think it'll be okay. It'll still work. It just needs a little more time. So
awesome. Are we going to get an update Monday on graduation, Julie? You're muted.
Yes, we can. We can let you know the plan. We have a plan that's going to the. It just went to the Winnebago County Health Department to approve. Okay. And so there's not a lot we can do, but we're going to do. The plan is to do a drive-through at the high school, but then we're going to have a stage set up so that kids can get out, the student can get out of his or her car, go up on the stage, get their diploma from one person, so the one board member, and then come down and they'll get their pictures as they're getting their diploma as well as they get off the stage, and then they drive off. So we're working with Schnucks to get so people can start there if they're busy, because there's going to be a lot of kids. We think, we don't know, but yeah, that's the plan.
Good. Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good to me. We got anything else for tonight then?
That's it for me.
All right, we're good.
Okay. Consensus well taken. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.